Freedom in America. What impact has freedom had on America in the 20th century? Preceding the 20th century in the United States, free white men were the only citizens allowed freedom. However, after the 20th century, freedom extended its coverage to every American citizen. Well, what is freedom? According to the International Encyclopedia of the Social Sciences, freedom is the capacity for self-directed thought and action and the choice of one's own goals. Human rights is also an important aspect and can be intertwined within the definition of freedom. Another scholarly source states that the human rights are the basic freedoms, liberties, and protections to which all persons are entitled. Now, what is the final definition of freedom? Freedom is the ability to express oneself through thought and action regarding their personal preference towards a certain subject and through human rights. Freedom has always been an important value in America, and this value was exemplified in the 20th century through women's rights, the civil rights movement, and immigration to the United States. First, we have women and freedom. Women established the New Women era around the 1920s, which signified the time that women began to gain more freedom and rights. Women obtained many new political rights through their involvement in different political aspects from child labor laws to prohibition. Women of all races protested their opinions, which had an influence on decisions regarding the topic at hand. This helped women become more independent from a political standpoint and gain respect. Women were able to establish their own groups that led to many political accomplishments for women, such as the ratification of the 19th Amendment, for example. Women of all races began to hold more positions in a variety of professions, and they also even started to become more educated by attending college. Many men went to war, so the women had to fill the jobs left behind. They typically held positions such as nursing, teaching, and social work. Lastly, in society, women began to act more independent and show this through their actions. They rebelled against the traditional style of women by becoming flappers, visiting dance halls, and such, and socializing with more men. They acted as if they could do anything men could do, from smoking in public to obtaining sexual satisfaction. Even in a family viewpoint, wives showed their independence in the household through increased divorce rates and shrunken family sizes. Now, the Civil Rights Movement was a movement where African Americans gained the freedom to be equal in society. They gained the freedoms of speech and association, employment, and discrimination regarding belief, race, and national origin. Civil rights laws were created at the federal and state levels, which generally aided and gave equality to individuals who are discriminated against. Lastly, immigration was a time that showed how immigrants gained new freedoms by migrating to America. The 25 million immigrants that arrived in America during the 20th century obtained the freedoms of religious freedom, political freedom, individual liberties, and employment freedom. They all were able to pursue opportunities with their new freedoms, and that was why they came to America. To summarize women and freedom, one can say that the newfound freedom for women in the 20th century led to innovations and developments for women that aided the growth of their independence. In regards to the civil rights movement, civil rights have spread freedom amongst individuals of different races, such as giving African Americans and other races more rights and abilities to interact in the social sphere and the workplace within America. Lastly, immigrants enjoyed the freedom discovered in America because they had the ability to build a life on the specifications they desired, and they did this through the coverage of freedom. Overall, it is easy to see that the incorporation of freedom and human rights in women's rights, civil rights, and immigration rights during the 20th century has extended the coverage of freedom from just free white men to people of all races and gender.